All right, lads, welcome back. I have decided to go back deep into the archives and check out the very beginning of 19 Kids and Counting. This is season 1, episode 1. It's actually called 14 Children and Pregnant Again. So we open up with the narrator and he's telling us what a family is. I don't know why. Perhaps in his mind, we have all been taught the homeschool by Michelle Duggar, but he feels the need to let us know about families. I found it very interesting how this family decided to introduce themselves to the world because I'm telling you, the red flags were already flagging. So we meet the whole family, the whole lineup, and I mean, it literally is a lineup because these kids are standing there like soldiers and they're all in order, like of their birth. They're all quiet and they're all smiling. So they give us their names. These are like FLDS people the way they're dressed. But oh my goodness, we get to Ginger, eh? This child, she's very small. She has huge black circles underneath her eyes. This kid looks exhausted. So we get to the younger kids and we get to Jedediah, who has actually forgotten his name, which leads me to believe that he's not used to people calling him by his name. I'm sure he just hears a lot of kids, get in here for your dinner. So a lot of the girls are wearing this kind of a red colour check dress. The boys have navy t-shirts on them and beige trousers. I thought, for God's sake, get a whole load of tracksuits for these kids. Anyway, then we meet these two, okay? Jim Bob and a very pregnant Michelle Duggar. The dynamic between these two was so odd because she's dressed like one of the kids. She is. And she has this huge collared dress on her, which always reminds me of something that you would put on a very small baby. You know, if you were feeding them and you didn't want them to get food all over them. That's what these always remind me of. Now, Jim Bob is, of course, matching with the boys. I have noticed Jim Bob talks to Michelle like she's a kid, and Michelle talks to him like he's God. I'm not even exaggerating, that's how these two go on with each other. Then Michelle explains the buddy system. She has a real psycho look on her face. And of course, this is so weird, but she explains it to us. So she's going to be the baby's first buddy. Then she's basically going to teeth and yeet. Because as soon as that kid doesn't need to be breastfed anymore, she's just going to pass it on. Now, in her words, to whoever's turn it is to get a baby, basically, right? Now, we get a montage of the small kids raising the even smaller kids. Oh my God, Michelle. Anyway, we also find out that Michelle is Jim Bob's buddy 24/7. I thought we know Michelle. We all know that. So if you think about it, right, she's supposed to be raising 14 kids, but she also has to be his buddy, all of the time. Oh, by the way, these 14 children and the two parents live in a three-bedroom, two-bathroom house. Jeepers, can you imagine the smell out of all that? So we find out again, right, that it's really hard to parent all of these kids. I told them, stop having kids, Michelle. But we get the kids talking about this new baby that they're getting whether they want it or not. So Jill is trying to explain the number and she goes, it would be cool if it was a boy. So it's like half and half. And then you can literally see this girl realize that maths, it's just not working for her, okay? But honestly, that kind of sums up the homeschooling situation because next we do get into the education. Now, Michelle says that she homeschools all the kids. They have school just at the kitchen table. Now, the lesson that these kids are having today is all about bankruptcy. So basically, you have like a 16-year-old Josh and a very small Joy. All of these kids are learning the exact same thing. Make that make sense. But we also find out that these kids, they also learn how to play the piano and the violin. But the small kid like is not allowed a violin because I don't know. I know they're expensive, but I thought just get him a tin whistle or something. He's standing there like a little gobshite with his cardboard looking thing. So we're finding out about the jurisdictions, which is basically a fancy name for chores, really. So Jill is in charge of the laundry. I was looking at Jill here. She reminds me a lot of Mayim Bialik. Did anybody watch Blossom? I think it's the smile. I think it was when I was watching Jill talking. That's who she reminded me of anyway. So Joseph says that he's also has to do the laundry. Now Janet is responsible for tidying up, right? But she's also responsible for cleaning up her parents' bedroom. I'm sorry, but what the fuck is going on here? Where are these two grown adults not making their own damn bed, Feckin' hell. Now Jessa tells us that she hates cleaning around the boys' toilet. Again, why is this child doing that? Like there's loads of older boys in this house. Why are the girls doing that? Give that job to Josh Duggar and just call it a day. Then we see the laundry set up. Each kid has a bucket. I thought if you need a bucket for your children, that's the universe telling you have way too much kids. So according to Michelle, all the girls wear white socks and the boys wear black socks because apparently that's the level of organization that you need to run this place. I would have lost my mind over this. If I had to share socks with somebody, I would have been out. I wouldn't have been able for it. Anyway, this is just like a giant master schedule that they have like up on the wall. It's rows of notes and assignment, but Michelle tells us that even then things still don't get done. So basically this system does not work, Michelle. Oh, anyway, we're talking to members of the public and what they think about this family, and people are asking like how did they afford them? So then we get right into the Duggar finances. So we find out that Jim Bob flipped cars, he worked at a grocery store, he owned a car lot, a towing business, real estate, insurance, he worked in a shop, and about 14 years before we meet them on the family, these two made a decision, no debt. Now, do you know what? I am going to give this man 1 pint. And the reason I am going to give him 1 pint is because I do not see a two-door Lexus anywhere. So the man gets 1 pint, right? And of course, we hear the famous line, buy used and save the difference. Now, as I'm hearing all of this, right, I noticed that there's a popcorn machine behind Jim Bob. I thought, where the hell did he get it from? Like, why is it there? There's nothing in it. Now, we get the reason for why they have so many kids, and according to them, these are just blessings from God. That's what they say. So we are going to go shopping. Now, Michelle has shown us what she calls an empty pantry. This thing is full, right? This is full. But because we're going shopping, the boys basically have to take seats out of the van so that they can fit all the shopping in. Now, they also have a bus, but we are going shopping in this van. Now, this poor child's James, right? He is having an absolute meltdown. He's about 2 years old. He probably wants to go shopping with his mummy, but too bad because according to them, he has to learn self control. What feckin' 2 year old has any kind of self control? Oh, anyway, we're getting to go shopping. Now, Michelle is just calling the older kids. That's literally what she says, right? She is not calling these children by their names. No, just older kids. We're going shopping. Anyway, we're in the shop, right? And these are getting crates upon crates of food. Lots of tin shy. I was wondering, why do they not just grow a few potatoes, a few heads of cabbage or something in their garden? Anyway, we do see these tiny kids picking up crates of this tinned food. This is too heavy for them to be carrying. So we get home and we have to unpack all of this shite now. Now, apparently, Michelle is not in charge of the larder, right? That's Jim Bob's job. I'm looking at this thing and I thought, has this chap got a bit of OCD? I was just looking at the way everything is lined up. It's perfect. But my God, this place is like Sodium City. Feckin' hell. Then we get this iconic moment from Michelle, right? And she's telling us that they like to make tater tot casserole. Now, according to Michelle, this is a real quick meal. I thought, yeah, it's real quick. It's real quick for you because Janet is making it for this big, huge family. Anyway, we get to see the kids having a bit of play, like eventually. So they're playing a bit of football. Now, the narrator tries to tell us that Jim Bob and Michelle spent more time with their kids than most parents do because the kids don't watch telly or go online. I thought, yeah, narrator, that's not the flex that you think it is. Not by a long shot. Anyway, then we're going to go on a field trip. Now, I wish I was joking when I said this, but I'm not. They're going to watch someone doing a bit of spray insulation because the Duggars are going to be building a new house. That's the lesson, like that's the field trip. And you know what? I have never been more grateful for a normal school in my whole entire life. I really do appreciate my parents for not putting me through any of this shite. Anyway, then we get into the rules about the kids and relationships because Josh is 16 years old here and we're going ice skating with the Holt family. Now, we're going to learn more about them in future episodes. Spoiler, I don't like them. I'm very familiar with these. So, anyway, we're being told these kids, no dating, only courtship, and everything has to be supervised. Now, I do understand that your parents, would want to supervise you, especially if you're small kids or, you're in this kind of courtship. But the thing that really bothers me about the Duggar family is that these kids have never, ever had any kind of an outside perspective. They don't know any other kids. They don't know anything about the world. And they're just expected to get to this age, get into a courtship and get married. Feckin' mental. Anyway, we're hearing from Josh. Now, he says that he's saving himself because he doesn't want to give away pieces of his heart. I thought that line has aged terribly. Nobody mentioned Ashley Madison. Fucking hell. Anyway, we're off to see Michelle giving birth, right? This woman and the giving birth. So we get to the hospital and we find out this baby is in the wrong position. So what does Michelle do? Well, she starts praying, of course. She starts praying that God is going to turn this baby. Obviously, God doesn't turn the baby. I thought, for God's sake, Michelle, get into the operating room and get a feckin' C-section. Something's gonna happen to you, and you've loads of kids at home waiting for you. So she does finally go in to get a C-section, and they show it, like they fully show it, which honestly really shocked me. Not because I think it's gross or anything like that. It shocked me that Michelle actually showed so much of her belly. So thank God this baby is born and he's healthy, right? So this is baby Jackson. Now all of these kids come to the hospital to hold him. Do you know that really bothered me because I know Michelle's delivery went grand, but I'm sure there's people in this hospital who probably haven't had the best outcome. Like I just didn't like all of this. I don't like when the Browns do it either. Anyway, this is kind of two episodes in one because by the time this episode is over, we find out that this kid doesn't get any time because Michelle is already pregnant with baby number 16. Because 15 kids isn't enough. Anyway, we will be back to find out what happens. So that is our recap of season 1, episode 1, 19 kids and counting. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, go ahead and hit subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. Have a great day. Now, if nobody else tells you this today, remember that I love you a long time. Slán.